Allow me to introduce myself.
I am the last sane sports fan.
I am a genius by trade.
I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly.
Hello everyone and welcome once again to The View from the Midwest. Well, hopefully everybody out there had a good Father's Day yesterday. I know that my family and I all enjoyed it. Took my dad out to a movie and breakfast and everything, and everybody had a really good time. So hopefully everybody out there had a good time as well, and had a good time with their fathers, or if you are a father, had a good time with their family. Moving on to things in the sporting world, a few things kind of rankled my nerves over the weekend. Basically, there were about 3 topics that I want to cover, and all have the overall topic of people need to learn to keep their mouths shut a little bit more, and maybe we'd all be a happier society. The number one thing yesterday, Jordan Spieth won the U.S. Open. A decent performance. Obviously, congratulations go out to him. He did kind of win it when his opponent 3-putted on the 18th, and everybody was kind of falling back towards the pack. And a big reason of that was the condition of the greens. Now, before I get into my argument, I'm not going to sit here and say that the greens were immaculate. They didn't come off looking very good on TV. They didn't look like they had the good quality that you would normally expect at a PGA Tour event. And there were situations where maybe the greens could have been kept in better shape. Maybe they could have been, the pin placements could have been put in different spots, that kind of deal. It wasn't necessarily what we've come to expect from a PGA event, but get over it. You had to play under the conditions that everybody else played. That's basically the topic that I'm talking about. There were 4 or 5 guys at least. I'm sure there were a bunch more, but those were the ones that were at least willing to get on camera, get in front of a microphone, and air their grievances. Now, there were some that kind of kept it calm and kind of said, oh, we didn't agree with the way that the greens were set up and the conditions and all this. And then there were some that went as far as saying they didn't, they lost a little bit of respect for the USGA. Fine, that's your opinion. You could think whatever you want, but the golf is not just a professional game. It is a game played by the world around, and yes, it is still somewhat of an elitist game because even your lower level courses still cost more than some people can afford. But that being said, everybody that likes to play golf goes out there and they deal with the conditions that are at hand. Sometimes the greens are terrible, sometimes the fairways are awful, sometimes the divots are not replaced, sometimes there's standing water at the bottom of a hill. These are the conditions that your everyday golfer has to put up with. And simply because these guys on the Pro Tour have been so pampered and catered to, doesn't necessarily mean you're above playing under those conditions. Yes, maybe it wasn't your typical U.S. Open course. Maybe the conditions didn't measure up to some of the stuff that they've had in the past. But everybody across the board had to play on it. Everybody had to play under the same conditions. So take it down a notch. It's not going to hurt your career to play under those kind of conditions for one tournament out of your entire career. The USGA will probably sit there and say, well, we got too much bad press. Let's not give it to a situation like that again. But that being said, the golf tournament, I don't believe, really suffered all that much. If anything else, it may have given them publicity that they did not think they were going to get in the first place. I'm not one of those that always subscribes to any publicity is good publicity, but in this case, just calm it down a notch. On the same token, talking about Spieth, all of a sudden, he's won the Masters, U.S. Open, puts him in rarefied air. Tiger Woods was the last person to win those 2 majors in the same year. Let's not call him the next great thing. I'm tired. It doesn't even just apply to Spieth, but we seem to like to do a lot in golf specifically, although we do it in a lot of other sports. But golf, ever since Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods was the best ever? Maybe. That can be debated. Obviously, given his conditions right now, it doesn't look like he's ever going to catch Jack Nicklaus. That being said, for a sustained period of time, he was probably the most dominant golfer that we will ever see. But that doesn't mean that we always have to be searching for the next one. There's been Rory McIlroy. There's been Sergio Garcia. There's been, I can't remember his first name, but Kim. He was going to be the next big American golfer. There's Spieth. There's, I mean, the list goes on of people that we have anointed as the next great golfer. And yet, golf is not a sport that is sustained like that. That's what made Tiger Woods so special. There's nothing wrong with hoping that there'll be another Tiger Woods, but to expect that to happen, look at what happened between Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods. There were some fabulous golfers in that time span, but nobody that really sustained their greatness for long periods of time the way that those greats did. I don't think we need to necessarily put anybody under that kind of pressure cooker to all of a sudden be the next great thing, to carry the sport. Let them worry about their own game. Golf is enough of a mental game that they don't need the extra pressure of worrying about being the number one player in the sport. I'm not talking about rankings. I'm talking about what people expect to see every single week. And this is applied across the board in sports. Stop saying that LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. Stop saying he's the next Michael Jordan. He's LeBron James. Why is that not good enough? The same as Michael Jordan shouldn't have been compared to Dr. J. We do it in soccer. We do it in hockey. Oh, Sidney Crosby's the next Wayne Gretzky. And so on and so forth. Stop looking for the next big thing and just enjoy what is in front of you. Because when their careers are said and done, and we're all old men and women, and we look back on everything, then you can really sit there and try to make arguments against the next generation about what you saw and how great it was. But until that time, just enjoy the fact that you're seeing some of this stuff, because it may never happen again, and it may be replicated the next week by somebody else. So it doesn't always have to be the greatest thing ever. Continuing along with our keep your mouth shut kind of segment, Colombia, what are you thinking? The United States women's soccer team, potentially one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world. And you're making up stories. This Colombian forward or midfielder lady, and I do not say that in a sexist way, that is her first name, lady. She decided to come out in the media and say that they were going to beat the United States and shut them up because they talk too much. All you had to do is say they're going to come out and beat the United States. If you have confidence in yourself, if you believe that that is going to be the result, nobody will hold it against you. You might look a little bit foolish if the United States ends up winning, but you won't look as foolish as you do if the United States kicks your butt and you gave them bulletin board material, because for some reason, I don't know where she's getting her sources. Maybe she thinks Julie Foudy is still a member of the team. American media has nothing to do with the American team themselves. So to sit there and say that the American team's talking too much and too full of themselves is ridiculous, because I've heard absolutely nothing to that effect. If anything, they've been less full of themselves than you would expect a team of that level of talent. Again, just these teams need to shut up. Sweden did it. Colombia is doing it. It happened earlier in the tournament as well. After the Australia game, there were rumblings by the Australian FA for some reason that, oh, well, the United States really isn't that good. Well, we beat you 3-1, and obviously you're a pretty good team because you turned around and beat Brazil 1-0 in the knockout round. So Australia's no slouch. USA pretty much took them to task. I mean, these teams need to just be quiet. Be quiet. Shh. Shh. It'll be okay. That is the View from the Midwest. What are your views on today's topics? If you're watching on YouTube, comment, rate, and subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, share it around with your friends. Leave a comment there as well. But until the next time, I'll see you then.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. so much space.